Go.
My name is Dominic McKinnon, and I chose to do my scripted speech on Rip Van Winkle. Rip Van Winkle begins now. In a long ramble of a kind on a fine autumnal day, Rip had unconsciously scrambled to one of his favorite parts of the Catskill Mountains. He was after his favorite sport of squirrel shooting, and the still solitudes that echoed and re-echoed the reports of his gun. Panting and fatigued, he threw himself late on an afternoon on a green knoll covered with mountain herbage that crowded the brow of the precipice. From an opening between the trees, he could overlook the lowering mountain for many miles of rich woodland. He saw in the distance the lordly Hudson, far, far below him, moving on the sail of a lagging bark here and there, sleeping on its glassy bosom, and at last losing itself in the blue highlands. On the other side he looked down into a deep mountain glen, wild, lonely, and snagged at the bottom of a filled with fragments of the impending cliffs, and scarcely lighted the reflecting rays of the setting sun. For some time Rip lay musing the scene. As evening gradually advancing, the mountains began to throw their long blue shadows over the valleys. He saw that it'd be dark long before he could reach the village, and he heaved a heavy sigh when he thought of encountering the terrors of Dominc Van Winkle. As he was about to descend, he could hear the voice in the distance, hallooing, "Rip Van Winkle! Rip Van Winkle!" He looked around, but he could see nothing but a crow winging its solitary flight across the mountain. He thought his fancy must have deceived him, and turned again to descend when he heard the same voice crying out, "Rip Van Winkle! Rip Van Winkle!" At the same time his dog Wolf bristled up his back and gave a low growl. He skulked to his master's side and looked fearfully down the glen. Rip now felt a vague apprehension stealing over him. He looked anxiously in the direction and perceived a strange figure trailing up the walks, bending under the weight of something he carried upon his back. He was surprised to see any human being in this lonely path, an unfrequently visited place, but supposing it to be someone of the neighborhood, he decided to descend and hasten to help him. That is the end. Now, I decided to do it on Rip Van Winkle because of this passage and its excerpt on the happiness that comes with it, and the strangeness and the vast, the valleys and the mountain glens and everything comes with it, and it shows the real beauty in nature. And I hope you like my scripted speech.